2018 Nissan 370Z. A refreshing and rewarding sports coupe, even though it's almost a decade old. Pros: revvy engine, lovely exhaust note, no frills driving experience. Cons: harsh ride, dated interior. Price: value for money fair. What would I change? Nothing. The Z is perfect with being imperfect. How I would spec it: add all of the Nismo's mechanical bits to the base Z and keep the price tag under $40,000. In the world of cars, it's unorthodox, almost unacceptable, for a vehicle to stick around for nearly a decade without any significant updates. Sure, a couple of facelifts and some neat new features parsed out over the years keep things fresh and interesting, but it's also a wonderfully effective way to make a car feel real old, real tired, real quick. Naturally, there are exceptions to the rule. Witness the Nissan 370Z. It's been about 9 years since the 370Z first landed as a new car for the 2009 model year. Hardly a drop in the bucket considering the Z car's rich lineage, but an eternity by all other accounts. Whichever rivals the Z has left, they've become either lighter or heavier, cheaper or more expensive. Turbocharged, direct injected, more technologically advanced, friendlier to drive. The Z has stayed the course and it's graying at the temples, its forehead more wrinkled and hands more weathered than you remember. But slipping into the part leather, part Alcantara cabin of the full Z 370 Z Nismo, suddenly none of that matters. Scoffing at the idea of turbochargers and direct injection, the badge on the back directly correlates to the engine size. Power comes from a normally aspirated, 3.7-liter V6 engine. Base and mid-range models pump out a respectable 332 horsepower and 270 pounds-foot of torque, while in Nismo flavor, that's cranked up to 350 horsepower and 276 pounds-foot. Nissan and Infiniti faithful know this engine well. Part of the VQ family, it wakes up with a mischievous purr at the poke of the starter button. Peg the throttle and, while not as silky as some other six-cylinder coupes out there, the BMW M240i comes to mind. The Z awakens with a guttural howl past 4,000 revolutions per minute. Suffice it to say, the Z is still equal parts spark and bite, even if that bite isn't as strong as it used to be. Still, driving a Z is refreshing. It's not for everyone, but there's a pleasant weight and mechanical feel to the Z that you'd be hard-pressed to find anywhere else these days. The steering is heavy and communicative, and because it's a hydraulic setup, there aren't any buttons to adjust how much effort it takes to turn the wheel. The shifter, though not as buttery smooth as a Mazda MX-5 Miata, is pleasantly notchy and easily manipulated. The clutch lets you know exactly when it bites and pushes back on your foot just enough, but not to the point where you regret skipping leg day. Fully disabling the stability and traction control safety nets is a one-button process. It does take a bit of a deep stab at the throttle to nail a perfect rev-matched downshift, but the throttle is still properly responsive and it's easy to drive this car smooth. Or in anger, the exhaust note is nothing short of intoxicating, and what you hear isn't electronically manipulated or amplified by any speakers whatsoever. Of course, the soundtrack is just part of what the Nismo trimmings offer. It's a fairly complete package. You get a few mechanical bits, including the aforementioned power bump and exhaust system, plus beefed-up brakes peeking through a set of lovely 19-inch split 5-spoke alloy wheels and Dunlop summer rubber, and a laundry list of chassis tweaks, including upgraded springs and dampers, and more bracing. They add up to a bit of a harsh and noisy ride, but come on! When you're driving a sports car, compromise is often the name of the game. Contrary to our friends south of the border, where you could opt for a Z Nismo with the 7-speed automatic transmission, Canadian-spec cars are available exclusively with the 6-speed manual with rev-matching. Do yourself a favor and leave that doohickey off, though. You also get a few showy bits, including a body kit, not as shouty as you'd think, and the ducktail-style spoiler is reminiscent of a Porsche 911 Carrera RS 2.7, and a few neat touches inside, like a red stripe atop the steering wheel and a pair of lovely, but manually adjustable and non-heated, Recaro seats, among others. It's a fairly cohesive package, striking a solid balance between meaningful performance upgrades and properly aggressive looks. Drawbacks? Well, there are a few. Sit down, this might take a while.